and welcome to the Cancer Journey podcast. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Shariann.
So let's start with pest check-in, and I'm going to go first.
Okay.
Okay, so physically a 7.5. Emotionally, I am a 7.75. Spiritually, an 8, and hope is an 8, and my word is settling.
All right. So physically, I am an 8. Emotionally, I am a 7.8. Spirit, 9. Hope, 9.4. And my word is that, a sigh.
So, Shariann, do you want to open up what's going on with us today and where we're going to start?
So of course I always start thinking about what I want to talk about, what I want us to talk about before we get here. And what's really coming up for me right now is the whole concept of fear of the unknown. I've got a situation that is heavy on my mind, and I want to get it out of my mind and into my heart and my being. So I figured this is a great place to do that and to share it, and also to actually use some of our stuff on me. So here's the situation. I got a message from one of my docs. It's time for my colonoscopy. And it's been years. And it just brings up that whole fear of, ooh, I'm going to be actually checked. And what will they find?
Mm-hmm.
I think I would be fine if it was just, a colonoscopy, because at my age, you do it regularly. But the fact that the last cancer was found in my rectum, and it's been good, and I am so happy to say that it's been 10 years since my last, cancer journey. And so I've been feeling great. Well, life happens, but physically feeling great. And yet this is looming, and it's been such a fun and exciting year. Lots of new things happening, lots of awards we've been getting, and trips that are planned, especially this part of the year. So I've got the baby coming, going to be a grandma in less than a month. I mean, it's weeks now. And then we're going to go up to Tahoe, and then we've got Christmas in London, and it's like, oh, I really want to do all of it. And then there's that head thing that says, and you've got a colonoscopy. And so what if they find something? How does that change everything that you've got planned and everything you're doing? And it reminds me of right before COVID happened, that we had this full year of really exciting stuff. And I mean, it was great. It was like, great, this is what you do. You plan the big rocks first, right? And then you fill in with the spaces with the little rocks. And then COVID hit and everything shut down. And so all our plans just kind of thrown up in the air. And while for a business standpoint, it was a good pivot for us, it was devastating. We kind of talk about COVID as the cancer of the world, in a sense, because you didn't ask for it. It happened to you. Not even if you didn't get COVID during that time, it shut down the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so it shut us down. So, having said that, this is my plight, and haven't made the appointment yet. They want to do it in October. That's the time frame they gave. I would like to do it in January, which is only a few months after.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I check in with my body, and then I don't. It's all stuck right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's where the fear is. The fear of unknown is right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a little bit of that the fear is up here, but the body remembers what it felt like to have the trauma of COVID come about so recently, to really knock down a lot of the plans that you had. And while you were absolutely capable and did pivot, it wasn't easy. It wasn't your first choice. COVID was no one's first choice. So that fear and the idea that, like, um, having this colonoscopy and anything that could come out of it would taint what moves forward, and change how you experience the rest of this time, can be really hard and really
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah. I mean, and that's it. It's the what if.
Hmm.
What if? And so just this morning, we got got news from one of our dear friends who actually has colon cancer, and she's been going through treatment and it hasn't worked. So now she's going into a more aggressive treatment, and she's a much older woman, but it's just, that memory. What you just said is like, I remember, I have not forgotten how any of this felt or how any of this went. And as I say that, I could feel the fear, but it's turning into sadness, because it's like, not that it's a waste, but it's this. I love being excited about life and being in the excitement of life, and just the thought of something stopping that.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
hard.
because right now it's also knowing that you're going to get a colonoscopy whenever it's happening. It's going to happen. We know it's a good thing. We do know that, because it's figuring out what's really there. But for you, you have the choice to do it now, when you have so many trips and big events, and for us, big programs starting in the fall. And you get to make that choice of, do I want to tackle those things with the perspective I have now and the place and the mindset I'm in now? Or do I want to know potentially bad news based on, trauma you've experienced, like having that bad news and still have to carry it with you through these different events? Or will a few months really make any difference there? And
Right.
it sounds like you know what you want.
I know what I want, and the fear says you don't want, if there's something there, you don't want it to spread. Because, I mean, what I'm afraid of is colon cancer. Not
Mhm.
that I've ever had that, but who knows?
Fear, fear.
And that's a pretty aggressive, quick moving one. Okay, I'm making this all up in my head.
But you're not making it all up. I mean, this is where we bring in negative ego, right? That voice is negative ego. So in this space of, let's just be with this fear, let's hear what the negative ego has to say. Let's put it on the loudspeaker. What are all the
Okay.
crazy things?
It's, it's an ugly cancer. If it were to be, I'm just going to be, just say all the things that my head is saying is, if it's colon cancer, it's ugly and it's aggressive. Again, my judgment. Um, you know what it's like to go through that roller coaster. Been through it too many times. I know that point of diagnosis, and it's devastating. It's filled with this ball of emotions. It feels like your life has been stopped and you're put into a different path and a detour. I'm not ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
I love the path that we're on. I love what we do. It brings me so much joy. And I'm conscious, I believe. I mean, now I'm sitting here going, Mercury's in retrograde, so things are slowing down to give you that time to just breathe. And actually, this is actually perfect. Okay, a bunch of rambling happening in my head. So there's that negative ego. It comes out and it goes, here's time for you to excavate what's going on inside. And the other part of me is like, no, I just want to go forward and not be conscious. Let's just play. Let's just have fun. And oh my God, it's just a jumble of words
Mhm.
and feelings. And it's like the most prevalent feeling is I don't want to stop what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And then there's this little, oh, I don't know if it's the rational brain, but says, yeah, but maybe we should slow down. And then goes back to, you can't slow down. You've got a big event coming up. You've chop chop. Let's go. Make things happen. And
Mhm.
then the other part is, are you enjoying the chop chop, hurry up feeling, or do you need to? So it's this mess that's
Yeah.
happening in my head.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is the absolute swirl of emotion that we talk about constantly in our work. And so you're in the right place for where you're at. It's you're exactly where you need to be with this rambling, with this spiraling, and I think that I wanna hear more about where it's going, where it's leaving you. What voice is loudest right now? And there's no wrong answer here, right? Because to voice exactly what your negative ego is saying doesn't mean you're etching it in stone. And even if you are, you can cross it right out. Like this isn't
Right,
to say anything to hold you to it. Not
right,
that like, oh, all colon cancer is like so devastating and awful and like but that is a perspective you have on it and a thought you have about it and it's absolutely valid. All of these thoughts are absolutely valid. There's no
right.
reason to negate yourself in this moment or anything that's coming up for you because they feel very real, they feel very true no matter how much space they're taking up in your brain right now. They're feeling real and they are real.
Yes. Okay, so the biggest voice is I feel good right now.
Mhm.
I don't want to feel crappy.
Mhm.
I know what treatment feels like. It's crappy.
Mhm.
It just is.
Yeah.
I don't care if anyone says, oh, this is the light treatment. It just feels crappy.
Right.
And just that news this morning of that friend who's going through it. She's on a 3-week cycle. Oh my God, that brought me right back.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, I know that icky feeling. I know that lack of energy. It just brought it right back. And
Yeah.
so I somehow I'm taking on that like now, which is like, no, okay, we get how it's stoking the fear.
Mhm.
So all my whole being is going, no, 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 don't want that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is my soul or my heart or what, but that's saying, so maybe this is just a message, right? Because emotions are messengers. So the fear is just a messenger that says anything's possible. You know that until you know what's exact. So this
Mhm.
is all conjured up in my head. And so it's that question again of how do you want to live your life? And so if you want a couple extra months, okay, you get to have that. But what's going on right now that is not healthy? Like, what is not really in alignment with my purpose,
Mhm.
my heart, with who I really am? That foundation of me. How am I veering off path of my authentic me and my journey, my soul's journey? Oh, this is good. Because I didn't slow down enough to really think about it in terms of that. It was more, oh crap, this could happen. And so now I'm fighting the fear
Mhm.
instead of being with, there is a calm part in me, in my solar plexus. And that's not where the fear lives. The fear is really frenetic and it's right here, like
Mhm.
here. But there's a calm place here in my solar plexus that is the one that's saying, let's slow this all down and let's remember, let's get connected back to me versus the swirl that's here. That's like, oh my God, I'm going to be like my friend. And then you'll have to do it all over again. And then it'll be 6 times you've had, it's like, oh my God, I really, 5 is plenty.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just want to take a moment to just reflect on everything that you just shared. And I'm glad that you had that moment too, that you're like, oh, this is good. Because the exact same moment, I was like, this is good. Because, we started more with you being like, well, this voice and this voice and this voice, and I have to do this and I have to do this, but I want to do this and I want to do this. And all this other information's coming in. And so there's the panic. And as you got to
Yeah.
it, saying everything that you needed, all those different voices, they actually compounded to find a happy medium. And right before you said, oh, this is good, I was noticing all of them coming together and saying, like, I don't want to slow down, but I think that I don't want to slow down is I don't want to stop. And which is totally true. Time doesn't stop, so it doesn't. And slowing down for you is going to look different than slowing down for anyone else. And even in this moment, is moment enough for you to slow down and just be with it. And so, because you're doing this, I'm watching all that swirl kind of start to piece itself together and range itself, so that this is the moment when you're slowing down. This is when you know what you want, but you know where the panic is coming from. And you're noticing that and giving it time to really process that this is a message for you and that's how you want to take it. You want to take it in as a message, and you want to take it in, no, I'm not going to stop. And I know that it's a trauma response from, past cancers and everyone else's experience. We are in that realm of cancer, and so sometimes we feel like we're on the road of either on or off. And so you're
Mhm.
feeling that switch, like the energetic emotional switch of like cancer on, cancer off, cancer on, cancer off. And that's a terrifying line. So I think that you're really culminating. I feel it settling a little bit more. I feel like you feeling more reassured about even your desire, because you started by saying that, like, I want to wait until January to do my colonoscopy. I think that is super clear that that's what you want. And yet there's still this swirl. So you need to have this swirl and pick things apart and put them back together in order to really feel comfortable and know where everything's coming from, and be able to sit with it and be like, okay, this stuff was panic. I'm feeling it. I'm noticing it. I'm being with it. And also I get to be with what I truly want. And knowing the experiences I had and knowing the risks and knowing the benefits, I really, I being you, really know what's best for you in this moment and what will give you the best experience.
And something else that just came up, other than, and it has caused and calmed the frenetic energy. I mean, it was like waves of energy that was popping off. That was what the fear felt like. In this calm place in my solar plexus, it's okay, so this is really bringing you present. It's not this living in the future place, which is easy to do, especially when we're in planning mode and we're trying to make things happen for a specific thing. But what's here right now? And when I bring up the all the wonderful things that we have for the rest of the year, it's like, oh, I'm going to have such a good time with every single one of them because I'm present. And
Hmm.
so this fear took me out of the present moment
Hmm.
and took me over there where I have to fix something and something's wrong, and, all the pain and all the yuckiness,
Right.
away from right here. What I'm not so much in this moment, though I want to come back to this moment, but I can imagine in our live event or in the travels being really present there, like, okay, so this is my moment. What do I want to experience here
Hmm.
versus there? It's
Yeah.
here, here, and here.
Yeah. Because even now, you're projecting this idea that in the future, if you do the colonoscopy now and there's something that's found, or whenever it comes up, you're just waiting for the shoe to drop throughout those experiences. And you're probably like ordering up yourself to be like, how can I still have all these experiences and still enjoy them with the freedom and carefreeness, and even just the, like, a little bit ignorance is bliss. Through the rest of it, like, you. if you can really have those moments in that space, knowing that you are still going to make an absolutely responsible choice and still do it, you're not completely neglecting it, but you want to be able to enjoy this time without that looming over you.
Right. And it feels like I'm kind of making a compromise with myself, or making a deal. It's like, okay, so if I put this test off, this colonoscopy off until January, then my I'm going to live every moment. It's like, really, do you need to make a deal? But it's my reminder. Somehow I needed the reminder that this is what matters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah,
I
I'm going to do that thing that's scary for me over there, but this is what matters.
I think that this is not crazy to make a deal with yourself. You're the only one you should be making true deals with because you're the only one who knows. You only know how you feel from every angle. If this were, a whole coaching session, I would bring out an options wheel and then or a perspective wheel and play with some of the different other perspectives and other, options and seeing how each one feels and trying it on and spending even more time with it there. Um, but here now, I mean, there's no such thing as self coaching. Truly, like you can't self coach yourself, and so even having this back and forth is definitely helpful for processing and
Hmm.
has some elements of coaching in this conversation right now. But um, if we were really to be in a coaching session, we would sit with each option and we take time and we do all of this for each and every one of those options. Um, but you also have activator, and you're like, I'm not moving around.
This is so true. So
You weren't
true.
gonna get that news or that reminder to get a colonoscopy and sit and just like ponder it because that would be more intellection, I think. But your activator was like, I'm up, I'm up. Like, what do we want? What are we doing? We have to do something about this for us, not like physically make something not happen and make calls and do in that way. But you're like, we need to do in here. We gotta fix
Hmm.
this because this rattled me. And we need to do something to figure out how to make it not rattle me and yet
Hmm.
still make me feel held because you want to be held by the decisions you make and be in consideration. And so I think this is a really good, what you would say, compromise because you're not neglecting your health. You're not doing it. You're just holding this space for yourself that you really want. I mean, there are so many things falling into alignment from here till the end of the year that have just been on almost like a bucket lists and it just we want to keep this nice little space, the space that feels a little bit more pure because you can make that choice for yourself to just be here. How do you feel?
It's amazing that the processing with coaching tools in there. You were talking about the concepts that are real. The negative ego. We're dealing with the emotions that's right here. The future, trying to future profile and bring it back to the present moment. But it's such a positive and powerful concept. And perspectives and my activator. I mean, I'm such an activator that I don't even know when I'm activating, right? It's so me. And to
Mm-hmm.
have someone call it out is like, oh, right. Well, that's why I
Mm-hmm.
do that. So let's just come back and be really clear when I'm activating. I don't need to activate the fear
Mm-hmm.
because it's over there. It's in the future that I can't even predict or know, and
Mm-hmm.
come back to activating what's here and within my control. So thank you for that. That was so helpful. And
Mm-hmm.
I do feel this calmer. I've got me, and
And
it's choices that
mhm.
really resonate.
And you found the calm space for yourself, even, like I'm here to witness that, but you noticing where the freneticness was, which you said was up here, totally makes sense.
Hmm.
You were able to also locate in your body where a calm space was that you could fall into, and that calmness to me says trust. a lot of trust in yourself, that even if this is swirling, there's something else to ground you and to fall into when this gets so overwhelming as well, like you got you. You know other people have
Well,
you too. You know I have you too, but you also got you.
yes. But that's what I love about a coaching or coach like space
Mhm.
is that I've been carrying this for days now.
Mhm.
And it just didn't want to look at it, to be perfectly honest, because I'm human too.
Mhm.
And so just went about my business in my day. But it wasn't until now where it's like it's still looming. But now, this morning anyways, it was looming. And now it's more like, I got it. And so I needed the slowing down, this safe, private space, although, I'm doing this out loud with our audience, to just find myself.
Mhm.
And I think that was the key to get past the fear that was trying to take me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you made that choice to process and to share it instead of letting it consume you and falling into a black hole of it. Because that can be easy too, right? Like when people get news like that, sometimes that freneticness, that go, 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 even if they have activator that can propel them forward, it's not to say what direction they're going. It doesn't say, okay, I'm standing up and I'm going to do something about it now. Sometimes it's like, I am actively pulling away and in denial and pulling anything else to come cover it up so that I don't have to look at it. It can show up in a lot of different ways for people. And sometimes some people disconnect even more. So thank you for making the choice for yourself to bring it here, to have it like unearthed, but also to share this with other people. Because we do have an audience, because it's a podcast, we get to share that growth and that change, and even allow people to like witness the shift from where you were before to where you are now, and to see like the impact of some of these tools, but also knowing that fear is not necessarily something to run away from. We don't have to run away from fear, and we don't have to let it consume you or hide it or feel shame about it. I mean, your negative ego coupled with fear is like, that's crazy of here. He says the wildest things. It says things like, this is the worst cancer you're ever going to have now that you're going to like have a colonoscopy and they're going to fight, right? Like it will tell you those things, but you're allowed to feel that way and think those things and go to those extremes. But know that that's not all that's there. That's not all that you are. But it is something that needs to be released. It's so to believe that over and over and over is digging yourself into the pit right there. And
Right.
it doesn't need to be that way. And you get to go through that if that's the path that you need to go through, because you can't go around. It's always through. And to
It's
have
always through.
like hear you and reflect back some of those words, right? Sometimes you're like, oh wow, I'm saying some mean stuff to myself. Sometimes we don't know. Sometimes we don't know we're saying those mean, harsh things to ourselves, or things that we do say to ourselves we take more seriously than anything anyone else would say to us. Um, and it just it makes sense to have someone reflect it and to not hold it so tightly with you. Like hold it as real, like you get to believe those things, but also it's not everything, and there's so much more to you than the fear that feels like it could be consuming you at that time.
So well said. So my takeaway is that I can't do this by myself. I can try, but I need the safe space. I need the slowing down and the pause, but I need someone to help me get there.
Mm-hmm.
And I need the reflection. That part was really huge because I can spew things out and not necessarily hear myself. It really helps when I have someone like you or my coach to reflect back of what you see, not necessarily in my words, but in words that I can hear, like
Mm-hmm.
like the hard truth, which allows me to find myself again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's so powerful. So my word for right now is powerful and calm. 2 words. How about you?
My takeaway is that sometimes, well, most of the time, we're the hardest on ourselves, and we don't give ourselves enough grace to even share it. Sometimes it feels like we're going to be such a burden to other people that we feel like we shouldn't or we can't. And even when you think about, oh, I'm thinking about the list of friends and family I have and who can I vent to about this, who doesn't think that, I'm going to do something crazy, it can be really hard. And the coach is always there completely non-judgmentally to accept you in any space that you're in and help you find your way out if that's what you're looking for. Um and my word is grateful. My word is grateful because I'm happy to be able to be here to do this with you, but also that you trust me so much to be with you on that journey, and know that I will and do hear you. And yeah, I'm grateful to always be a part of that shift and help someone along, especially when it comes to fear, because that feels enormous, and no one should have to take it
Yes.
on alone. We release new podcast episodes every Friday, and we'll be back next week.
See you then. Bye for now.